What is this? I bet you all know. That's a condom. Do you guys know what it's used for? I bet you do, right? So what does sex and DeFi have in common? It's risk, right? So today, I'm going to tell you about DeFi risk management and how to hedge that risk, how to control that so you don't get wrecked. Not so much to talk about sex, I guess, but all right. So people use DeFi. We all know, we're all here for it. We see the growth, we like it. The industry is growing, but the toolbox is still half empty. There are tons of tools we need to develop. And regarding the risk management, I think that's one of the spaces where we really lack some efficient tooling, some ways to hedge the risk. You know, we give people access to all these financial tools, which are awesome. Some of them use them for the first time. Some are experienced in the traditional finance. But we need to give people efficient tools to hedge the risk so they don't have to worry about losing their money, getting wrecked, getting hacked, getting liquidated, and like solve all these problems. So with that, I want to kind of like, I guess, give you the list of all the risks, I guess, that exist kind of now. I'm sure you're all familiar with most of these. You know, exploits being a huge one. Nobody really enjoys the impermanent loss. There are rug pulls and scams, and hackers, all that good stuff. So what are the ways to hedge them? These are the existing options. You know, they're not perfect, but you know, you can get a coverage on some of the platforms for your exploits, for your hacks. Stablecoin DPEG is pretty much in demand, and with impermanent loss, you can kind of hedge that with options a little bit. I guess, I mean, impermanent loss is kind of like a quadratic thing, and then options, you have like linear return, so you need multiple things kind of like to pack into this strategy, and it still doesn't perfectly, you know, follow the curve. And then I guess there are market liquidation, which is mostly just price risk action, so you can use derivatives if you know, perpetuals, futures, you know, all this stuff. And then, yeah, I mean, there are rug pulls, scams, do your own research, like aping in doesn't always work out. However, like another big thing is the whole like infrastructure, front-end attacks. And with that, like, it is a tough problem. There's no really insurance out there. You can't use options to hedge that risk. So right now you can check the links, check the data, but until we really decentralize a lot of the infrastructure and have kind of like fallback mechanisms, that's really tough because it pretty much just relies on the team, on the people and individuals that are off-chain, right? Like we all have our laptops, we can lose the key. So, you know, just don't get wrecked. But the vulnerabilities and the ways, you know, you get exploited are listed here. I try to kind of like bucket them into like a few categories. I'm sure you all heard of like flash loan attacks and how you can basically manipulate the market price or like the computation inside the smart contract to withdraw like some value, extract some value. There are math errors. We're all huge fans of copy and paste protocols, right? That just miss one line or try to tweak it and then they screw up the math. Forking might sound super easy and sometimes it's great. That's what allowed the industry to grow so fast. But yeah, like if you copy a protocol, just check if the math works out. So with these, you know, I bet this slide has the most zeros out of all the presentations here. But we lost tons of money. I bet nobody likes that. And these only include just kind of like smart contract hacks. I had to filter out all like the bridges. I'm sure you heard about Poly Network, like over 500 million lost. You guys heard about a wormhole that just recently happened, like I think it was 300 something. So yeah, I mean the magnitude of this problem is huge, but the DeFi insurance is not really catching up to the DeFi TVL. There are tons of challenges with it, and they're all kind of like outlined here. Rinat, I think he presented on Saturday, I believe. He's the founder or co-founder of EtherRigs. So he also talked about all these issues right now that all the DeFi insurance protocols, risk management protocols face. So one of them being underwriting, which kind of like underpins the whole like, capacity. The demand is not an issue, supply is. And so right now, underwriting is kind of like this high risk, low reward thing, right? Nobody wants to fucking do it. Like, who wants to take all that risk and pay out that money? Anyone? Definitely not me. So yeah, like we have the problems here, like capital needs to be locked. Like if you look at the traditional insurance space, you usually sign a contract for like a year or like 18 months and you get like some kind of like fixed return. So these things don't quite well transform into like the DeFi paradigm. And so then you want to do partial reserves, you want to be leveraged, $1 backing multiple dollars of risk. That's how the efficiency goes up. But then the second point, efficiency, it all kind of centered around this idea of risk pooling. The more risk you pool, the more diversified it is, the more you can underwrite with the same dollar. So you really need to like bootstrap that pool of risk, that capital back in the entire thing. Then I guess like there's an issue with access, just KYC. For some reason, some citizens are not allowed to use some protocols, which I think is dumb. We don't want to do this. But then there's also like expensive coverage. Sometimes you have to choose the term of your policy. There's little flexibility. And then another one is risk management. So some protocols use voting, staking, but I think there's lack of transparency, and then you also can't really use wisdom of a crowd for managing risk. Like, we human beings are really bad at evaluating this off the top of our head. You need quantitative modeling, you need numbers, you really need to kind of like dive deep for a long time to be able to do these things. And so, but as a user, like, what do you care if you have an insurance? If you get screwed or your car breaks down, your house burns down, you want to make sure you get the money back, right? Like that, I mean, that's the only reason you bought that policy in the first place. Right now in like DeFi insurance, you have long times, you have committees, there's no transparency. So you have like all these like hurdles to the point where you're not sure whether you're going to get the money back, even if you didn't do anything wrong. But then like from just, I guess, the business side of things, obviously like insurance is quite far from point of sale right now. And generally none of the projects can get insured. We're a protocol, I'm sure there's some founders here too. How can you get covered your entire protocol? It doesn't matter of the size. Like even if it's a small one and you don't need a lot of underwriting capital, you can't. And if you're like big or like, 5 billion worth, how are you gonna get insurance? So with that, I just want to introduce what we did. Disclaimer, we pretty much solved every single fucking problem here. So I'll start with the first one. High risk, low reward. We've been thinking for a very long time about like tokenomics and like what it really means and how you can utilize this novel mechanics to help solve the problem. Instead of deploying the token to raise liquidity, finance the ops, or just create hype, really wanted our token to serve that exact purpose of underwriting. And so with that token, with Solus, we're basically decoupling the risk of underwriting away from the reward. Solus does underwriting with its own pool of liquidity. And so you as a holder get only exposure for the underwriting reward. You're carrying no risk. So if the claim comes in and we have to pay it, none of your funds are at risk. However, you're still earning all the revenue from policy sales, from investment activity on the pool, from like any emissions of the token. So that's fundamentally how we approached this problem. And then also like you can underwrite in a lot of assets. Basically, you just bond them, you get the Solus back. So if you want to start getting exposure and generating revenue, you can either bond it or buy on the open market, and that basically drives the whole underwriting. But you don't carry any underwriting risk, only price risk. So just like with any token, it's publicly traded. So it's mostly, I guess, driven by the sentiment and the whole thesis behind the project. Then the low risk pooling. Solus is the only protocol right now out there that pools the risk inside each and individual policy on the chain across all the protocols and cross-chain. Right now we're live on mainnet, Polygon, Aurora, but we're quickly like scaling up, and the whole architecture from the very start was developed for this compatibility. So it doesn't matter which token sits on which chain, it underwrites the entire thing. So you can think of Solus existing above every single chain like as a separate protocol, and we have interfaces on chains. So yeah, and then also I guess like on the policy product side, we want to have a reality where you can have one policy on any chain you like that will be covering your entire liquidity everywhere, no matter what chain you go. I guess that works well with like EVM because you have the same address. So what we did with risk management is pretty fun. I guess our models are the only public ones out there, and we don't use voting. It's pure quantitative, qualitative analysis. We build the entire risk pipeline for the protocols to feed it, for users to feed it, and we ourselves are working every day to pump data in and generate data so we can efficiently and intelligently underwrite and make sure that we always have the funds to back the risk, but also the product and the users have access to the policies. Then I guess, I mean, on the claims, I kind of said the problem. Yeah, I didn't update the slide a little bit. Okay. But yeah, anyways, this thing is simple. The best way to do claims is no claims. You know, we don't want to put you guys in the position of adversary. You know, like when you broke the car and you file a claim, now you're kind of playing against the insurance company. We do not want to do this. I mean, I generally dislike insurance industry just because sometimes I don't even file a claim because my time worth much more than that payout. With us, it takes 1 week and you don't need to do anything. Because the data is public, the data is available, we build the system to evaluate your financial loss and we send you the money. If you're not happy with that, obviously you can come in and dispute. But fundamentally, we don't want you to have any pain filing out the claim. And then here's some alpha. So this product has not been publicly announced or released, but projects can get insurance, right? But now you can. So Solas Native allows every protocol, no matter of the size, age, or whatever you do, get covered with Solas Native. So if you're the founder or working for some, just reach out. We're onboarding the first cohort right now. It's probably going to get released in about a month, but you know, I'm probably going to have another talk about this. But I guess now on to the most exciting thing that happened today. So if you followed, I skipped one of the challenges. It was access. Today, we just released live on the mainnet the total wallet coverage. It takes literally just a couple clicks to cover your entire DeFi activity with one single policy. You don't need to choose the time. It's perpetual. The risk rating is dynamic. So basically, as you come in and out of the protocols, the policy tracks you. The policy sees where the risks are. Everything is being evaluated by the risk pipeline, and you're just getting like billed on a weekly basis. But then you always know what you're being charged for. Super easy. You never overpay. You literally only pay for what you use. So with that, I guess I can just show you how it works. I still haven't bought the policy on my public account. So let me just show you. I can also take questions while I'm doing this, but basically, here's the dashboard. Oh shit. Okay. Well, here's an awkward silence. Is it on? All right, awesome. But yeah, so as you connect the wallet, we get the data on your portfolio, basically all the protocols you're exposed to. And here you can see your portfolio details, what like the risk level is, and we also give you kind of like the annual quote, even though it's a projection. And then you can just click get started. Basically, we offer you to choose the limit, basically like up to what amount you want to be paid. We recommend to go like a little bit above your highest position, because as I said, you're pulling the risk inside your own portfolio now. So you don't actually have to cover your entire portfolio balance, only the highest position really, because if one protocol falls, you're still going to get paid out the whole amount. So that's where the efficiency is passed on to you. But yeah, let's choose 120, and then, yeah, okay. Well, for 100 days, it's, I'll just do a little bit, okay. So yeah, now we just need to approve to spend the DAI. Oh, shit. Oh, I gotta unlock this. Do you guys have any questions while I'm doing this?
What happens when the token balance inside your wallet evolves? Does your coverage premium also evolve over time?
Oh, what was that? If your token?
If your token balance and what you hold kind of evolves over time, does your coverage premium also evolve over time? Am I signing to a variable premium rate?
So the max is set by the cover limit, but what you're paying for is based on your portfolio balance. So let's say if you set cover limit at 50,000 and your portfolio is 10,000, you're not paying on a 50,000 balance. You're only paying off of like your portfolio, but then if it like goes above the limit, then you're paying off the limit, and you will be paid in case of like some shortfall event happens up to that limit. So if your limit is like 50K, you're going to get up to 50K. Is that?
I guess this was the premium that I'm paying is based on the 10K that I was holding, right? But then what if that 10K becomes like 15K or like 8K or like?
Yeah, so like you're paying off of that balance.
Yeah, essentially, so it's variable, right?
Yeah. The rate is dynamic.
Rate is dynamic.
Like, I mean, your risk rating is dynamic depending on what your exposure is, and so the rate is also dynamic.
Is there a risk to the protocol being insolvent? There's a hack that's bigger than the total sum of what you're insuring?
So we can't insure more than what we have. That would be like the simple answer. So if we have like 10 million in underwriting capital and we like underwrite $10 million worth of policies, so basically there's always like a guarantee that the pool has enough liquidity to pay you out. And also, since we're pulling the risk inside all the policies, basically we have a way to track and see where are the policyholders' liquidity sitting. And so based on that, we can go deeper into the leverage. So let's say like if we have 100 million underwriting capital, likely we can underwrite 200 million, depending on how risk is spread across the ecosystem on the user side. So you having, let's say, like 5 protocols, and like some other user having 5 protocols, it could be like 10 in total, then we can lever more. But if there are like 5 same protocols, then we don't lever so much. So it's all just like based on how much risk you're pooling. More diversified risk, more risk pooling allows you to, basically do that, to like lever in deeper.
Do you have any plan?
Where's that coming?
I am here. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I just want to see it.
Do you have any plan to launch a product which is just addressing the breach exploits?
Yeah, so we've been talking about this with some bridges. Yes, short answer is yes, we are. So I guess like the high in demand, why is this pending? Okay, yeah, I mean like high in demand coverages are like DPAG for stablecoins and bridges. I think right now, like everybody wants to bridge coverage. And also like when we developed our cross-chain architecture, we removed that risk. You know, you have to do like an extra step. Basically after bridging, you have to like unwrap the token with us. But our token is native on every chain instead of being like a bridged asset. Because of that, I recommend doing that.